Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. Let me know if I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. Let me know if I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. Let me know if I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. Let me know if I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm speaking too much into the mic. Hi everyone.
Exited there, but consulting was good, but you solve a lot of problems, but you don't really deploy and implement anything. So, and I'm not being flippant about that, you do a lot of proof of concept there, but consulting was good, but you solve a lot of problems, but you don't really deploy. And then beyond that I went to, I'm not being flippant about that, you do a lot of proof of concept there, consulting was good, but Insightfactory, which is now AIML, and headed up their data and AI program, and so built that program from the ground up, where we had to basically implement the entire infrastructure, build the team, and then program the suite around that, where we had to base outputs for that. So from consulting, not really getting to deploy and implement, to going in-house, and you basically got to build everything and deploy it and manage it, and then you're on the hook for making sure that it works. And you're on the hook for making sure that it's accruing value in the business. And after that, I went into private equity. So if you're familiar with what private equity companies do, they typically buy a company and they look to flip it over the course of 3 to 5 years. So they might buy a company for $1 billion and they want to sell it for $2 to $3 billion. And so I went in as the global head of their data and AI practice, with a view of trying to accrue value across building data and AI products, but also running the insights across their global portfolio. Really interesting really interesting role in that it's all about value creation. So when you think about deploying data and AI into an organisation, it's all about how do you create value from that. So I guess the three major steps were, consulting, understanding how to really solve problems, going in-house, learning how to build and deploy solutions and support them, and then private equity was very much all about, okay, that's great, but how do we make money out of this? And so it was a really interesting lens to go through. And post that, after I'd done that, I figured I'd try to do it for myself, and started my own company, and we're now a few years into Insightfactory, and we are growing very quickly. We have a global footprint, and we have a pretty aggressive trajectory over the next few years in terms of scaling the company further. We're already in Australia and Europe, but we are continuing to grow. So that's a little bit about me. I'll pass on to Brian.
Yeah, sure. That's awesome, Peter. I'm Brian. I'm a machine learning engineer at Swordfish Computing. At the moment, I'm leading a couple of projects in the computer vision space, more in the R&D, object detection and tracking. My journey started here, just downstairs, doing electrical and electronics, a bit of finance, so I didn't come from a computer science background, but at the time, during my final year of uni, I was in the cybersecurity bootcamp, doing my honours project. At the time, it was 2018, and deepfake was huge. A lot of people that's why I'm really related to cybersecurity. But the uni didn't allow us to do it because given what deepfakes was used for. So I did a bit of adversarial machine learning at the time, but I learned through how to build data sets, how to train models from scratch, and all those skills kind of helped me like getting really into the machine learning AI field. And at the time, I was very into sports. I loved playing volleyball, so at the time, a lot of people are using these new technologies to help do sports analytics. So I was using AI, doing a bit of people are using these ball tracking and doing a bit of process estimation, or human process estimation to do like analyze my playing form and all that. So I realized how open the community were, and how easy it is to kind of bring these like technology and capabilities, and then pretty much just like playing it as a hobby. So I think that's when I fell in love with AI, and after I graduated my electrical electronics, went straight into a master's in computer vision, so I can continue doing what I love to do. And when I graduated, started Swordfish. So that's a bit about me.
Hi there, I'm Sophie. I'm a junior software engineer at Swordfish Computing as well. I've been there for around 1 year while I'm completing my studies at the University of Adelaide. So I'm definitely a little bit earlier in my career as well. I've been there for around, hopefully I'll be able to provide some of those insights. I think for me, I wasn't sure about AI until around third year in uni when I thought, hey, this could be for me. And I was really lucky to find an internship with Swordfish who were willing to support that interest. Even though I didn't have so much experience. And then, from that, was able to pick some electives and, eventually learn on the job, essentially. I really enjoyed that process. And I've been across now 2 projects in the AIML space, so keen to continue that work. It wasn't my first internship with Swordfish. I feel like my previous couple of internships really prepared me. And, I came into that third internship with already a fairly strong basis in software engineering, which allowed me to take the new concept and run with it. So looking forward to being able to share some of my perspectives with you guys tonight.
Hello, I'm Yanyuan. I'm now the postdoc in the AIML, which is also my research topic. It's about the vision and language. I have been doing the research related to the AI about 7 years. I remember my first research project about the AI is the vision and the question and answer. It is during my postdoc studies that I have attended a challenge named that the with the visual question answering challenge. It is a challenge that asks the model can to answer the questions based on the given image and the question. But the more challenging that the photos are taken by the visually impaired people. More challenging that you can imagine that it is really difficult because the image is not clear to see, and it is more difficult for the model to answer this question. But this project is really meaningful because I found that after this challenge, the people tend to use this model and build an app that should help the blind people. They can to take the photos by their mobile phones and send their questions to the apps to ask some things they really want to know. And this is really inspiring me that I found that the AI is really, really useful, and maybe I can do some things later to relate it, and I can do to help more people. And after graduate, I go to the Adelaide, and as a PhD student in the University of Adelaide, my research topic switched to the vision and language navigation. It is also Adelaide that my research is topic closer to the real applications. This project is to ask the robot in the simulator, we call it the agent. to navigate indoors and the robot to send something called an agent and to navigate indoors try to to robot to send something called the simulator and to navigate indoors try to answer the robot to navigate to something we want them to go and to bring something we want them to bring it here to me. That's something we want to go and to bring something we want them to bring my PhD and my here to me. And that's something we want to go and to bring AI. Thank you. My PhD.
Thank you for those great introductions. It's great to see that we have such a diverse range of experiences on the panel and lots of people that are coming from really different backgrounds. So thank you for those great introductions. It's great to see that we have such a diverse comments about the AI and data science industry. So to continue on, I'd like if a few of you, or if you all of you like to talk shortly about what you most enjoy about working in AI and data science. Continue on, and I'd like if there's any of you, or if you all like to talk shortly about what you most enjoy about working in AI and data science. Continue on, and Brian?
Yeah, thank you. I think I quickly mentioned it before. I think the open source community is like really powerful. Like all the new models that comes out, most of the times open source. You can pretty much just download it and play with it. So as an individual or someone that just like finds it really fun, you can pretty much just hop on and create a project of your own or build something amazing just through that. A lot of sharing of models and techniques, so it's very fulfilling. And given how quickly this industry has like progressed in the past few years, there's just new research comes out every week, every day, and then reading those research papers, like, oh, you can do something like this. That's really cool. So you learn about it every day. There's no perfect solution in this field, so it's still quickly growing every day. So yeah, I just find it really enjoyable because I'm learning every day and everything's always new.
Okay. I totally agree with Brian there. I think the most exciting part is that you're really at the very forefront of this technology. It's still quite new in some respects, and there's always things coming out every day. And so you really have the opportunity to make a difference in the field. Reading new papers, perhaps you're able to apply that paper in a completely new way, which has never been done before. I think as well for me, I didn't realise how diverse of a field AIML could be. I think in my head, before I started with Swordfish, it was all research and all maths, but which I do enjoy as well. But yeah, since joining Swordfish, I've recognised that there's so many different ways that you can take a career in the AIML space. Perhaps you really enjoy working on the application of AI models, or perhaps it's more in the development process. So I think that's when I was sold, really, was when I saw all the different opportunities that were out there. I knew it was for me. Yeah. Next?
Yep. I think the really exciting thing about the AI data science space at the moment, so I'm at heart an entrepreneur and an innovator, like I always have since I was a little kid. I was always building stuff. I think the field at the moment is as rich and ripe as it's ever been for innovation. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to build an amazing company, you want to do amazing things, like this is the field to be in, because the field is evolving so quickly and there's so much really interesting stuff to do. I've been in this since, like I said, over 25 years. And I've always felt like that in this industry. I've always felt like there's been this big promise of all this amazing stuff you can do, and you can apply things really innovatively to do really cool things. Oh, excuse me. You can apply it really innovatively, but for me, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an innovator, and that's what I really love about it. In terms of, I guess, pivotal moments for me, pretty early in my career, I think one of the things that was quite influential was I got involved in working in a couple of major fraud cases. And so I was relatively young into my career. I'd come out armed with a good way to apply mathematics and coding, but getting involved in what was some of the biggest, it was actually one of the largest fraud cases in Australia, and then seeing how we applied various techniques to identify unusual behaviours within the data sets was really compelling. I mean, you kind of saw the real cold face of that application of what you've learned materialising into litigation and a whole thing unfolding off the back of that. And coming out of that experience, I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. And there just a few other instances like that where you're able to apply your trade to real world circumstances and see how it can make a real impact. And so I remember that quite acutely from early in my career. The guy went to jail. It was really interesting to see how we were able to apply advanced methods to help solve what was going on under the covers.
What is inspiring about the AI is the point that with the rapid development of the AI, there are so many technologies, and you can nearly to see some new innovations almost every day, such as OpenAI's works, the GPTs. It has several versions, and people really enjoy to use it. And also another part is that there are too many ways you can do the research because you can do, there are many options such as you can do, if you are interested in the computer vision, you can do some works like the generation from the text to the video, text to the image. If you are interested into the natural language processing, you can have more focus on how to improve the LLM's capability, and even you can it allows you to have various of diverse different sources every day, and you can also have the option to just try it. And although sometimes one people can only do some incremental studies, but if you continue to do it, and in the someday maybe some your thoughts can to have the really important works in the future. That's really inspiring, and me and also our team's member also like to discuss about how to, for example, our project about the robots. We would discuss that how to use the LLMs to enable the robots have a big brain to let the robots can to think, can to reason, or even can to have the conversation with the human to acknowledge, bring them to be more intelligent. That is really an amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you for those responses. I think we kind of saw a common theme there that everyone really touched on is how cutting edge AI is, especially nowadays when you're seeing new things coming up in the news every other week, honestly. And there's a lot of big advancements happening right now. And so kind of following on for that, I was hoping that you guys could talk a bit about any possible challenge you foresee in the near future for AI, particularly about possible ethical concerns, which we see a lot now with ChatGPT, like you mentioned, deepfakes. And so anything that you could provide insights on that to our audience.
Yep.
Sophie? Yep, thank you.
I think a big challenge is when we take AI models from the space that they often exist in now, which is as essentially perhaps a chatbot or used in more of kind of a fun context. So maybe we're asking, oh, can you write a bedtime story for my kid or something like that. Taking that and then trying to apply AI models in critical situations. That's for me where the real key challenge is. Trying to find ways to improve the reliability or the trustworthiness of these models is a key challenge in the AIML discipline at the moment, and certainly an area that I see continuing to be a challenge for a little while. I don't think we're quite there yet, but there certainly are ways already, to mitigate some of those effects. Yeah.
I think similar to what Sophie said, depending on how we use it, ChatGPT is super powerful. We can use it to do, maybe assignments. And if you go off those answers as facts, then maybe you're learning the wrong thing. So it's a really powerful tool, depends how you are using it. Like Sophie was saying, generating something fun, it's okay, but using it as facts without fact checking it could have a lot of other impacts. And if companies start integrating it without understanding what harm it could cause, it's going to generate a lot of problems down the line without even knowing. So something that I can think of is a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of examples out there already, especially like with deepfake and all that. Not just companies integrating them, but like also how people can use it. Again, it's super powerful in the open source community because everyone have access to it, but it's also a danger because everyone has access to it. So that's something that we need to be aware of, especially for us, with computer science background. We are responsible to use them ethically, but yeah, it's very challenging.
Thanks, Brian. Look, I'll probably just talk through a couple of perspectives, but I just want to put a commercial lens on this. And when I talk about commercial, what I mean is that it's the application of data and AI to commercial businesses. So I'm not talking about Meta or Amazon or product companies that are built by technology from the ground. And this is every organisation in there. And just in terms of challenges in the AI space. Now, I just want to kind of maybe level set on the reality of how this is going in industry at the moment. And so one of the biggest challenges right now for organisations is actually getting AI models to production. Now, you might see a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, you might see a lot of use cases, but 5 years ago, I went to the Data and AI conference for Databricks. They got up and they talked about amazing things happening in AI and ML, but 90% of models don't get to production, and on the ones that do, 90% don't get used. So you get 1 or 2% accruing value in commercial organisations. 2 weeks ago, I went to the conference, a lot of excitement in LLMs and all the stuff that's happening in generative AI, but 85% of POCs don't get to production. It's a real problem, and it's a real challenge for the data science and AI community is how do we get this stuff into a situation in commercial organisations where it can accrue value for the company. The challenge, as I see it, is it's really hard to do that. Building a model is one microcosm of what is required to get a solution to production in an organisation. So if you think about I'm building a solution that might have a computer vision model or an LLM or both in it, if I want people to start using that product in a way that it is going to generate value, increase safety, take cost out, drive revenue in my business, then there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. I need to be able to plug into the systems that provide that data. I need to be able to land it securely. I need to be able to engineer it. I need to be able to build my model. I need to be able to then deploy that so that I can run inference on it at the point that they need it. I then probably need to build a semantic model or a data model underneath that in a way that it can then be consumed downstream. I've got to do that in dev, and I've got to move it into testing and test it, and I've got to put it in production and support it because the resilience of most machine learning models is not great. After about 60 to 90 days, it needs to be retrained or rebuilt. And so there's a huge amount of stuff that needs to happen for models to get to production, and it only accrues value when it gets to production. It's not a solved problem in industry, in the commercial industry. And so that's one of the big challenges is the technology capability to do those things. The other big challenge, and this will kind of loop back to the ethics of AI, but is this thing in organisations called governance. Now, I might build the best model in the world, and I put it into, I want to put it up into testing, and I brought all this data in, and all of a sudden I go to the different people in my business, I want your financial data, I want your personal data, I want this information to flow in. All of a sudden the data owners go, there's no chance you're having my information, I need to know what you're doing it. And then cyber and security get involved and they say, okay, well, you want to bring personal information in? All right, well, it needs to be encrypted, it needs to be obfuscated, it needs to comply with safe harbour, all those things. And then probably the third element of challenge in data and AI in the commercial world is what I call alignment and adoption. And so alignment is building a solution that matters for the company. And that's not just building something that is technically interesting, it is answering a question that somebody in the organisation has asked. And so making sure that the projects that are being developed, the solutions and the products that are being built internally are actually going to accrue value for the business and are going to be fit for purpose. And one of the biggest challenges is end user adoption, right? Is once you've built a model, you've deployed it and you've got an output, how do you get people to actually use it so that if that model's producing an output and I'm trying to drive a business outcome, my model's running and it's telling me that this truck engine is going to blow up in the next 30 days, or this segment of rail is going to break, or this person is at risk. That's the output. The outcome is the intervention, is the prevention of that. So how do you get people to participate within that? They are unsolved problems in the commercial industry right now. And so that's the reality. There's amazing stuff happening in data and AI, and there's this nexus of getting that now in the way that commercial organisations can make use of that most effectively. So that for me is the biggest challenge in commercial data and AI. But think about the ethics of AI, again from a commercial lens. It's a really misunderstood problem at the moment. And I sit on boards and advisory panels and stuff like that for organisations, and everybody's rushing to get their AI policy. There's barely regulation, at the moment, and so it's really misunderstood in organisations about what they need to do to protect against the risks of AI. They don't really know what the risks of AI are at the moment either, and so the management of ethical AI within a business is about understanding the risk portfolio. What risk does it present to the organisation? Is it a risk of reputation? Is it a risk of safety? Is it a risk of financial impact? And once you have an understanding of the risk, you need to understand how you would implement the right controls to protect against that. My biggest fear in ethics, the ethics of AI in a commercial perspective, is that regulation and policy doesn't impede progress. And we see a fair bit of this in cyber at the moment, where there is a default to a risk position, and it's very hard to navigate some of those workings internally. So absolutely, we need to understand the risks that AI will present, and we need to have mechanisms to be able to control that risk or reduce that risk, the residual amount, so it's okay within an organisation. But the reality is it's an evolving space. It's not well understood in industry. And I probably say that because it presents opportunities for people in the room, right? If you understand what AI can do, you understand the risks that are present within that, and then you can have a view on how you effectively control that within an organisation, there's tremendous opportunity. I'll stop there. Get off my soapbox.
Another thing about I want to say that it is the one of the most thing we need to take care is that how to balancing the innovations and the users' safety and privacy. As we all know that with the development of the GPTs, most people will like to regard the ChatGPT as assistants or even their friends. They can to take conversations almost every day, and also to ask for help, and or even to say some things may be in secret. But how safety is it, and how to store, and whether the companies will to collect this data sets, it is something we need to take care. And in addition, people tend to have the customized assistance. Even people want to bring the robots in their homes, and they want to take this in their rooms. That means that this agent can access to their privacy areas, and it can to access to their rooms, and it can to access to their mobile phones and to see their message. And it is although it can improve the users the experience, but also it has some the risk that whether this information is safety, and can the company to hold it and do not to use it to do some things may be dangerous. That is another thing, and that the third one might be in the future's problem, that if we put household robots in your room, and then you want them to do some things for you, that is a good option. But whether if they do some things that may to hurt you, that is really dangerous. But how can we to design the algorithm to manage this? and to control the robots to do not do the things that may be harmful. That is another thing. That is all about the safety and privacy problems, and this has not to be resolved until now. Okay.
I think we just heard how there are quite a lot of current challenges in the field across very different sectors, like Peter mentioned in industry, and we heard a research perspective as well. But the good thing about these challenges is that it does create lots of opportunities for all of you guys who are studying or potentially going to study AI and data science right now. So it'd be great to talk a bit about what current opportunities there are on the fields and potentially what you four think the data science and AI fields will look like in the next 5 or so years.
So probably, again, a couple of perspectives here is where are we seeing opportunity? So, we have a data and AI company, and we are deploying and operating at companies at scale. And so where we're seeing a lot of opportunity now is in AI-driven automation. And so if you think about most organisations in a legacy perspective, there is a lot of process and a lot of inefficiency and a lot of waste that exists within organisations. And so there's, over the years, have been attempts to be able to solve that through data programs, RPA, all these types of things. They never quite got there. They never quite got home. And what we're seeing now with the advent of of LLMs, like the generative AI space, is it's injecting the capability now to put reasoning agency into solving a lot of these problems. And so we're now working on quite a few projects where we're effectively creating agency across a process. And so that is the combination of a whole bunch of different things that come together to automate a workflow or a process. And so, a couple of examples there where we're seeing practical application of this stuff really play out. And this is where I think there's a huge opportunity in the future to be able to create efficiencies in incumbent processes with an organisation. So a couple of examples to qualify that is, you think of global service centres and customer service and all that kind of stuff. There are armies of people that do very repetitive, very manual tasks. And we're working on a couple of projects at the moment. One where we have a company that has hundreds of people in global service centres, and their job is to get emails, open them, read them, work out where it needs to go, generate a response, fire it off, get the response back, and answer it. Now, this organisation has hundreds of people doing this. All of that can be done, and we're building what we call agentic production lines, but all of that can be done through a production line, and it can all be facilitated largely by a data and AI driven process. Seeing the same thing with a lot of the manual processes around standard things like creating financial statements or payroll processing or all those types of things, stringing together these very messy processes within organisations and creating effectively completely automated AI-driven workflow in that. There is just this swell of demand that's coming through that, and we're seeing a lot of that at the moment. And so if I'm putting my hat on and saying, well, where's this opportunity? You've got like the foundation model layer, right? Unless you've got tens of billions of dollars, then you're probably not going to play in that space to train new foundation models. The application layer and then the way that you build solution on top of that and string that together is where there's like significant opportunity for the cohort in this room moving forward. It's almost akin to when the iPhone came out and the app ecosystem evolved, is that I think there's going to be significant value accrues at the application layer on top of foundation models. So that's what I'm pretty excited about to see what happens. 5 years, I got no idea. And we'll probably have AGI and no, I don't know. But look, I just think the rate that technology and innovation is moving at the moment, 5 years in this space is just going to be pretty mind-blowing in terms of where we're at. We're already seeing massive impacts on the software development industry through what, I just read a paper by Ethan Mollick from Wharton around the impact on software development practices through GitHub Copilot. And it's like 25-30% increase in productivity through a controlled study. So we're already seeing pretty big impacts. in there. So look, it's a really exciting space, but personally that's kind of where I'm seeing a lot of potential value accrue in the future.
Yeah, completely agree with what Peter just said. Yeah, definitely a lot of opportunities in the future. I think in the architecture space, like the research and all that, a lot of the stuff, well, I work in computer vision, so it's pretty narrow compared to, well, so I can't speak for the industry, but a lot of the computer vision algorithms quite mature at this stage, but they are very good in general, but they're not adapted to the problem space. So I think a lot of opportunity is going to be having AI personnel being able to really understand that problem space and being able to modify these AI models and to be able to use them, modify them to actually solve the problem in that problem space. So yeah, I believe that AI is going to be everywhere within the next 5-10 years, and we'll need a lot of people to be able to actually help integrate this AI into like businesses and all the other areas. So yeah, very exciting times.
Yep. I totally agree with the other two as well. I think the exciting part is as we're moving into these different applications, working with companies to solve a problem within their business is where there's a huge degree of potential. I think over the next 5 years, increasingly we'll have to take a multidisciplinary approach to AI and integration into different companies in different places. I think it's increasingly important that we involve other disciplines like the social sciences or even areas like psychology to better understand how we can convey information or how we can bring AI or the human back into that loop. Yeah, in my opinion, I think that's the direction we're heading. Of course, the computer science is at the core, but yeah, those skills in collaboration and communication will be increasingly important as well.
I agree with Sophie's opinion. And in the future, I think the trend is to how to make the AI model more intelligent. It will be transfer from the international based AI into the embodied AI. So I may give you some more definition about it. As we know that although we know that the GPT, it is a powerful model, then we need to know how to train a model that can to generate some response. That is, the first one is that you need to collect multiple data and to build a database, and you need to use multiple GPUs to train it. And what is the database from? It is the tremendous image and the questions from the internet. We all know that access to the internet to obtain this image and the questions is easy, and that it is more easier for the model to train with this database and to get a great response by the query. But what is the embodied AI? And it means that if you ask the model that if you put the model into this room, and it can ask you that, what is the size in the window? It may be difficult for the model to answer it because it can only has the knowledge from the internet. It has no experience in this room. That means that the model has not access to this room's information, and it has not much intelligence to perceive the surrounding environment. That is what the embodied AI to do. What we want to do is that we need the AI model they can gain the tremendous information from the internet, but now it needs to have to perceive the surrounding environment and to gain its own experience by the model itself, just like the human to learn some things that is more difficult because we know that if you have the sufficient data, it is easier for you to train a good model. But if you do not have sufficient data, that is more difficult for you to do this work. And I think in the future, maybe people could do more works on it because it is more intelligent and it is the near to the true definition of the artificial intelligence.
Thank you for talking about that. We're going to open up to some audience questions now, and to begin, we've got one from the live stream, either for David or Sophie, Brian or Sophie, sorry. So they're just interested in your journey at Swordfish Computing in particular, if there's anything you'd like to say about that. And also, they're an international student, and it is quite hard for international students to often get jobs in defence and cyber security areas. So if you have anything to say about that or any potential advice, that'd be great.
So Swordfish Computing, we're just contractors, so we have to comply with the government's policies. So who we hire, what projects we can work on, depends on based on those policies. So it's not something that we can change. So, but there's a lot of other opportunities out there in the industry, like with Peter. So yeah.
Cool, thank you. Does anyone in the general audience have any questions here in person? Yes?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can bring your microphone if we need, but if you just try and project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a few questions. I'll give one and then I'll ask questions. So companies like OpenAI train on like public and copyrighted materials that have like a tenuous sort of legal status. And these days, many companies are using private data sets or they're commissioning data sets. I'm curious if you think it's reasonable to bootstrap like a company without paying for data sets or using data sets without a legal liability. I'm also interested in more generally, what is your experience of using sort of publicly available data sets versus private ones that you might have to pay for?
Yeah.
Yep. I think for me, this is where that cross-disciplinary approach comes back in. I think it's like, yes, you have a responsibility as the engineer, as the person at the core, but I think as well, it's about involving, a lawyer and involving a social scientist perhaps to have, some further ethical consideration around those kind of ideas. I don't have so much experience working with privately available data sets, so I'm not sure if I can comment there, but I think being aware of bias or potential bias in the data set is a huge concern for the engineer, as well as educating the public on the potential for bias in a data set. You have to know, just like when you're talking to a person, you want to understand where they're coming from when they share something with you. So knowing if perhaps there is a bias and what the AI model has been trained on is critical anytime you're interacting with that model. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, we'll just have to. The model we use, with the government, not with the government, we don't use publicly available data. So I think, we have to comply with policies. So in the future, I think a possible solution is to use synthetically generated data. Then there won't be any privacy issues. But then these synthetic data that's been generated is already built from data that's out there. So yeah, I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I hope I'll stay on point to the questions. In building models, I've done a lot of stuff with combinations of private and public data. It depends on the nature of what you're trying to build. We rolled out once where we built risk models for Burger King across all of the US, and probably about half of that would have been private data and half of that would have been public data in there. And so really the determination of what it is that you're looking to do determines what you want. In terms of what you can and can't access and how you do it, to be honest, when we did it on that space, you basically kind of just, the public data at that stage was kind of open slather, and we just did it. We went and did that. What was available, we scraped it. There's often policies and stuff on websites that say you can and can't use it, but it didn't seem to stop OpenAI and those guys. So look, certainly on there, depending on what you want to do, I think there's an opportunity there to combine all of those to build the model. A lot of the stuff around sort of public sentiment and all those kind of things is actually really important in being able to understand and train what you want to do. I guess when you think about like the OpenAI thing, and it's the one thing I think about like quite a bit around the foundation model. They've like basically been trained on all of the internet, right? All the publicly available and so when you think about what makes them work well, you've got data, algorithm, and compute, right? The three elements that are going to make those things work better. And I think that you're in this argument now around a lot of those things is that we kind of use a lot of the publicly available data in there to train those models, and then they're gravitated towards, well, we need better quality data, because I think they're quite sensitive to some poor quality data in those models. And there's a lot of argument, a lot of, I guess, thinking going on around how do you get better data? Do you curate that yourself? How do organisations open up those privately available, those private data sets in a way that it can be used in training those larger scale models? The synthetic generation, there's the idea of like how do you get like the model to generate data itself, and those types of things. So I think there's a lot of things in that space that will come to play in terms of how that would be used. I think probably gravitated away from your question a little bit.
I have another follow-up question.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at most sort of big tech companies these days, most of them, they operate on some sort of dubious red line, you know, whether or not it's OpenAI or like Uber or Airbnb. They all have a bit of like legal dodginess to it. And I think that's also the AI industry is the same. Do you think it will sort of always be the case that there's going to be some dodgy AI, dodgy ethical...
Yeah. Have you ever worked in a startup?
No, I haven't.
Look, I think a lot of that probably comes from the culture of startup industry, is you are just trying to build something that works and that provides a compelling solution. And sometimes if you need to push the boundaries to get there, I think that happens a lot. And I think it's just inherent in kind of the make or break nature of a lot of startup culture. The old kind of fake it till you make it type thing, and you know, push the boundaries. I just think it's inherent in a lot of those organisations, and you as a business owner and having been through startups and all that kind of stuff, I get it, right? I get that you are often on a burn down. Is that I've gone and raised capital, and that capital is going to burn down, and I'm going to be out of money pretty soon. And so when you're on a steep burn down descent, and you're trying to get your product working, and you're trying to get product market fit, or you're trying to get traction, sometimes those lines probably get a little bit blurry in terms of what they do and how they make that happen. And so I think that inherently in the pursuit of success, I think you'll naturally see that. Whether that is right or wrong, you know, I think that's just part of the game, and you just hope that it doesn't adversely affect, you know, anyone on the other side or anything like that. But it's a good question. In a perfect world, you say no, we should stand it out, absolutely. But the reality is that startup, I look at the room here, and I hope that a bunch of you guys embark on startups, right, and go and build your own billion-dollar companies and all that sort of stuff. It's a really exciting environment. It's a bit chaotic. It's a bit calamitous. You might watch the documentaries or read the books, and it might sound like it was pretty cruisy, but it is all generally pretty chaotic. And so it's a really good question, right, in terms of that grey area in there. I just think it's part of just making the machine work.
So make enough money quick enough so you can afford lawyers.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Yes?
So my question was in regards to the data sets that AI is trained on, and it was more like AI is, for example, ChatGPT, but also in general other AIs are generating the content that has been put on the internet. So would you think eventually we're going to face a massive issue of being trained on, or like having a negative feedback loop where AI is being trained on data it generates, and I think we're already seeing some of that. But for example, in computer vision, if you wanted to identify the city that someone in an image it was currently residing in, if that city was, if the AI was trained on generated data of a city, it might misidentify that city or something like that. Do you think that's a very concerning issue, or do you think it'll be solved easily in particularly the computer vision field, but also in general other fields as well?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a problem. So at the moment, looking at generated images, there's still a lot of artifacts. So from the human's perspective, you still can identify these artifacts, fingers and all that. But it's getting better and better, and the line is blurring. So yeah, you're right. Like in the future, definitely, like there's no way you can tell if something's AI generated or something that's not. And I think there's just no way to distinguish between the two. And if we use those data as a feedback loop and keep training, then yeah. So hopefully we'll have better detectors that progress with the generative AI technology, so that can help us still distinguish between the two. But again, how these models are trained, they're like pretty much like adversarial. So one gets better, the other gets better.
So if, for example, if it gets to the point where it's indistinguishable for a human to tell an AI image, do you think then that would like have almost no impact on being trained because it's indistinguishable to begin with, or?
Well, it depends what you want to use it for. So if the image you want to generate is to fool someone, then yeah, probably there's no point to make it better. But if you just want to create a nice painting or something like that's futuristic or like very artful, then yeah, there's values in continue progressing in that field. But yeah, in terms of like if people want to use it for misinformation and generating all that, then yeah, it's a huge problem, and we should invest more in training detectors and help protect ourselves against it. And I think education is a key here. Understanding the threat, what's out there, what these models are capable of, and not getting fooled by it, and also educating people around you. So,
do we have any more questions from the audience? I think we got one online. So what concerns regarding privacy will the university take to this? So we don't have anyone officially from the university here, but Yanyuan does work at AIML, so that's probably the closest we can answer to that. And will data deletion be a thing that should be enforced? So mainly concerns regarding privacy, and especially the university and I guess AIML's take on that.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, just what concerns regarding privacy, like data privacy, does I guess the Australian Institute for Machine Learning is we can talk about. Yeah, are there any I guess policies that the Machine Learning Institute enforces regarding data privacy?
Actually, I do not do some things related to it. Your question is that in the AIMLs there are some research related to the privacy?
Yeah, if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, actually I'm not familiar with it, but I know that there is a main research topic about the responsible AI. It is that, for example, the recent popular one is that how to let the AI to generate some things should be forbidden. That is, we call it the jailbreak. And there are also some things that technologies such as the attack technologies that you can do some things to attack the models and to make it to perform worse. That is also related to the AI privacy.
Thank you. Okay.
So
thank you for all of your answers to the questions today. I think we're going to wrap up the general panel there. We do have some drinks and food, and the panelists will be here for a bit longer if you have any more questions you'd like to ask them. Just before that, I do have this QR code up here for Inspired Research Group, which is an initiative that was started by a few computer science students here. Unfortunately, their founder couldn't be here today, but I got a message that he's asked me to read out. So Inspired Research Group is a student-founded and driven initiative which aims to function as a collaborative group for students who are passionate about advancing knowledge and solving complex problems through research and innovation. The group is designed to support research initiatives and create a community for discussing and sharing ideas. They currently have 3 projects in collaboration with the Australian Institute of Machine Learning that are looking to take on more over the summer and throughout next year. To register interest and gain experience in research, please join their Discord using the QR code up on the screen, or reach out to the founders Zach Shinick, Max Trolltree, or Will Saliba. So that's I really think a great opportunity if you want to get involved but you're not sure how to get started, and it's a really great way to get into the field, especially if you're interested in research. So please feel free to scan your QR code and join the Discord. Yes?
Is it open to master's students?
Yes, it's open. I believe it's open to anyone. You can double check that. If you join the Discord, you can ask the founders will be in there, so you can talk to them if you have any follow-up questions in particular. So yes, we do have some drinks at the back and some pizza in the next room. We do have quite a large turnout today, so we ask that everyone limit themselves to just 1 slice to begin with, just to make sure everyone gets something to eat. And also, if you could have your ID cards with your club membership stickers, just so we can check them as you go and get pizza. And could the other committee members present please help out with just checking that. Thank you everyone for coming. I hope you found this very interesting and also engaging. And yeah, enjoy the food.